The mass cabinet shuffle, of the kind Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced this week, is an objectively odd event. I always wonder what normal people make of it, people who haven't internalized and accepted the oddness, but who are supposed to be impressed by all these office reassignments. A few ministers get the axe who clearly deserve it. Fare thee well, Marco Mendicino. A few people who clearly deserve the axe are inexplicably reassigned to other portfolios about which they evince zero knowledge. Pablo Rodriguez takes over at Transport. But then, most weirdly by normal people standards, a bunch of ministers who were supposedly doing good work at their current portfolios get picked up and plunked down somewhere else. Or just chucked overboard, seemingly at random. Conservative MP Michelle Rempel-Garner incisively noted this week that the Liberals' shuffle-related messaging seemed far more focused on the who than on the why. The random shuffle is especially jarring for ministers who were put in their previous portfolio with a particular narrative or mission attached. When the unusually competent Anita Anand was appointed Defence Minister, we heard she would tackle a culture within the Canadian Armed Forces that seems to breed and tolerate sexual harassment and abuse, an enormous task, presumably, along with all the other headaches that come with that job. That was 19 months ago. Either Anand is even more unusually competent than we thought, and sexual harassment is no longer a problem in the military, or solving sexual harassment in the military now falls to the reliably unreliable Bill Blair. It might be better just to abandon the project altogether. A competent minister could spend several careers coming to grips with the bureaucracy at Citizenship and Immigration Canada. These are the people who deny visas to respected academics from the developing world to attend Canadian conferences, because they can't imagine such people would ever return home. A cursory glance at the real estate market ought to do it, surely. These are the people who demanded Canada's friends in Afghanistan fill out secure PDF documents that could not be completed on smartphones, even as they dodged bullets trying to get to a gas station near Kabul airport, where Canada abandoned them. These are the people who refused to consider the Hong Kong-born infant son of a Canadian man for citizenship, until he provided proof Russia wouldn't give his baby citizenship instead. This was after Russia invaded Ukraine. Sean Fraser had a mere 20 months at immigration. There were no conspicuous signs of improvement. How could there be? It must be like moving a planet. Assuming he was even trying. Now Fraser is off to the suddenly white-hot housing and infrastructure portfolio. Mark Miller, who was supposedly doing good work as Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, replaces Fraser at immigration, and newcomer Gary Anundasangari replaces Miller, for no practical reason anyone seems able to articulate. As always, we are told the mass shuffle is about improving communications, connecting better with Canadians, fresh faces, renewed energy, all that good crap. Liberal strategist Dan Arnold enthused about Fraser's appointment to the housing file. Fantastic choice. Fraser communicates well and in a substantive way. Young guy who can connect to young people frustrated about housing costs. But as the Liberals and New Democrats are very belatedly discovering, housing isn't an issue that you can communicate your way out of. The New Democrats still think giving would-be homeowners money is a potential solution, in almost heroic denial of the basic laws of supply and demand. The Liberals are barely past that. Either homes get built or they don't. Right now, they're getting built at a tiny fraction of the pace we need, even without dramatically ramped-up immigration. If Liberals are going to pump Fraser's tires on day one, they can hardly blame the provinces and municipalities if things don't work out. Hoy Livre's housing policy is blunt and basic: withhold federal funding to NIMBY jurisdictions. But it's by far the most plausible one out there. Arif Virani, unexpectedly catapulted into the Justice Ministry at the expense of David Lametti, faces a similar dilemma with medical assistance in dying maid. In years past, Virani ran defense for the government's unfolding euthanasia debacle in his roles as Lametti's parliamentary secretary and on committees, downplaying disability rights advocates' concerns about having euthanasia thrust upon them, and denying that Canada had become the most permissive euthanasia jurisdiction in the world. Just one of the most permissive. In the months and years since, Nearly everything Maid's opponents and critics predicted along these lines has come true, or at the very least is threatening to come true. It's far from clear what the feds can do about it, having let this thing out into the wilds of provincial healthcare jurisdiction. In 8 months, unless the government does something about it, Maid will become available to those suffering solely from mental illness. It's a different sort of crisis than housing, but just as important morally for the country as a dry, warm home is practically to a family. The most skilled communicators in the world can't spin failure into success on files like these. But the Liberals know little else except to try. Polls suggest returns are diminishing rapidly,